Good evening, everybody. Today is select board meeting, regular select board meeting for the Newfane town, and it is starting at 6 p.m. We have several people here tonight, and I'd like to introduce them. Angela Sanborn, Chris Williams, Shelley Huber, and where's Mike? Oh, Mike Fitzpatrick. We can't see you, Mike. And I'm Marion Dowling. We are the members of the select board. We also have Jay Wilson, road foreman, and Melissa Brown, the treasurer. And we have two guests tonight. We have Sheriff Mark Anderson and Anthony French from the Vermont State Troopers. And we welcome and thank both of you for joining us. So, I'm calling the meeting to order, and the first item on the agenda is to see if there are additions or amendments to the agenda. Angela.
I would like to move Sheriff Anderson and Lieutenant French before our regular business so that we can let them go about their business.
Right. Is there
if that's possible?
I'll second it.
Okay, second. Any discussion? No? So all in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So that passes, and so we will be doing that. Did you want to do that before the approval of the minutes, Angela? Were you saying? Or
Yes, I think we should do that before our regular business.
so right now? Okay. So then, again, we welcome Anthony French and Mark Anderson, and we have asked you to come here because at the end of June, our contract expires with the state troopers, Vermont State Troopers, and we thought it would be a great idea to have State Trooper and Mark Anderson from the Newfane Sheriff's Office. It's not only the Newfane Sheriff's Office, but Windham County, is that correct? And so we have a few questions we'd like to ask from both of you. And Angela, do you have a list that you might start with some questions and we'll go around, please?
I do have the list that was provided to me, and I welcome gentlemen. And the first question is, what service would you provide to the residents of Newfane? And that doesn't just include our Newfane village, or not even the village, just the town of Newfane, includes South Newfane, Williamsville, and Brookside. So it's a wide range.
What I would like to do is first have Mark answer and then Anthony, and we'll do it in that way, a question and then Mark and Anthony respond. So Mark, please.
Thank you. So I guess the simplest answer I can provide is that we provide a pretty customized service. We've, as I imagine most of you are aware, but I'll say it for any viewers who are not, our law enforcement service is entirely based off of a contract. Statutorily, we have no obligation to provide law enforcement. We receive no tax funding to provide law enforcement. Nothing purchases our cars. So we do it through a contract relationship with the towns where we basically build the cost of our service into it. I currently have contracts with a variety of towns, which expand from the lowest level of service, where I literally provide nothing more than motor vehicle enforcement in a village. That's the village of Newfane, all the way up to full 911 response. And so we can provide rural patrols, we can provide speed enforcement, we can provide death investigation. It's really a question of what we're trying to accomplish in an effort to support the needs of the town. I've been a firm advocate that public safety in Vermont has been underfunded. This is not a conversation that's unique to Windham County. We are frequently trying to figure out how to manage budgets, but we're also trying to figure out how to manage problems in a rural area. There's not many police officers in Vermont alone, and to say that to add Newfane to one of the towns that we provide services to, I think would help bolster public safety in the Windham County area.
Thank you, Mark. Anthony, can you respond to Angela's question, please?
Sure. So the services that the state police provide are normal services that we provide every day. We don't tailor our services and provide anything different to towns that we would normally, other than what we would normally provide. So as the sheriff mentioned, they tailor theirs. We don't do that. We just offer the the one service, which includes our normal patrol and normal response to calls.
Okay. Thank
And
you.
this would be for the whole broad, like South Newfane, Williamsville, and Brookside too?
Yes.
Okay.
And that's also, that's a state funded.
So, yeah, so right now we patrol Newfane as a contract. We have a $10,000 contract with the town for some extra services. So that's guaranteed hours that the town gets. But also it's a primary, we're the primary law enforcement agency for any calls that come in Newfane. So that is state funded, and we respond to anything that, you know, is needed. If there's someone in town working the contract, obviously they would respond and take care of it. If additional resources were needed, we would send additional resources from the shift. Or if someone was on a contract and the case went beyond the number of hours that they were allotted, they would go off contract time and go on the state's time. Also court follow-up, any cases that would have court follow-up, whether it's criminal or traffic court, would end up back on the state's time as well. That's not billed to the town.
Thank you. Chris, do you have a question or a comment that you would like to make? Nothing.
I'll make a comment. I said
How
I
about
was,
Mike?
I was on the board when we switched over. And one of the reasons we did switch over is we were having a lot of break-ins in town. And at the time, the sheriff's department didn't handle criminal cases. It was all traffic that they wanted done. And like I told them, I didn't care about them guys sitting out on a road, stopping cars, giving out tickets. I'd rather see them travel on our back roads, all of our roads in town, just so there's law enforcement present and people see it. And I know with the state police, we did get that. And they may stop somebody once in a while for speeding or whatever, that's fine. I don't mind that, but I don't like these where there's a speed guy sitting there all day long, or 10-hour days, whatever it is. The 10 hours just stopping guys for tickets, because I know the town gets reimbursed. I don't care if they get a dime back, as long as there's somebody traveling our roads in town to make their presence shown. I think the stuff for the break-ins went down once we started doing that. And I mean, they've traveled, I see them on a lot of different roads. So, you know, I'm not saying I'm against the sheriff's department or don't want them, but I've been happy with the state police with what they have done, because just like he says, if it turns into something criminal, they come out on the state's time then. They might be riding on through, they see somebody breaking into a house, they're gonna go after them for breaking into your house. Or if you happen to be in your house and the guy's trying to rob you. I mean, like I said, the sheriff's department might have changed a lot compared to what it was back then. But I know one of the selectmen asked at the time, what would we do if we called it? And he said, shoot the guy, so.
Mark,
Just make sure you kept him in your house.
Mark, can you respond, please? Mark, can you hear me?
He's on mute.
I lost my Zoom screen. It disappeared when I was trying to open my calculator, and I didn't really mean to try and click my calculator, but that's what happened, and then I couldn't find Zoom. So at a moment. So to answer your question, Mike, we'd have no issues providing rural patrols. When we did have a contract, we frequently patrolled South Newfane. We frequently patrolled Williamsville. I know that because I was also one of the people who did patrol various areas, including Brookside.
Right.
We
Well,
do
see,
many
I'm not-
dirt road patrols. We would try to do those things, but at the time we also had a contract that was specific to providing motor vehicle enforcement. So the I guess to put simply, if the town asked for a contract where we're providing criminal and motor vehicle or other types of enforcement, we would do that. And we're also looking right now to add animal control to our portfolio to try and help towns with that. That's been one of the areas that we've been hearing, and we currently have a project with Westminster and Putney that we're starting to work on to try and help take the burden of animal control off of towns. So we can provide those things. And it was someone from our office saying that we would just shoot a burglar. I have concerns about that.
Well, that was what pretty much your remark came out to. I mean, it was one of the former selectmen that asked the question. It wasn't myself, but yeah, we all know if somebody comes into your house, you got a right to protect yourself, no matter what.
So if the town signs a contract with the sheriff's department for criminal and motor vehicle, and someone's not on duty at the time, would we call your office if there was such a break-in, or would we call the state police? I mean, it's a confusing for the people, so it's nice to have that definitive answer.
So to make it simple, the way that we've worked it, I'll use the town of Vernon as an example. We have a contract for 40 hours a week in the town of Vernon. And when our deputy's on duty, we have fixed hours that they're on duty. When they're on duty, we contact the state police, let them know that we're on duty. And then they continue to be your 911 designated agency, but their dispatcher will transfer the call to our deputy. It takes away the streamline of who do I need to call by using that carryover system. My opinion is it's worked pretty well. Lieutenant French can certainly speak to it from his perspective.
Yes, could you speak a little, Anthony, about this, please?
Sure. Just to put it in perspective, the contract that we currently have with the town for the $10,000 for us, our contract rate is currently $75.69 an hour. That's the same. It's not increasing rate at this minute for the next year. That only gives 8 additional hours per month, about that much. So you're not looking at a lot of time that we have additional people in the area. I had the stats run from the start of the fiscal year, so July 1st, 2019 until the end of last week. And you only had 1 burglary in the town of Newfane and 4 larcenies. So you really don't have a lot going on. Hopefully I didn't look to see what that was for years past, and to see if that's been a change, but hopefully it's just some good police presence that you've had in the town. Maybe it's just good luck. So we have had some overnight patrols too, from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. or so, off and on occasionally. I think that probably helps deter some of the criminal behavior as well. But I don't want you to think that there's a big problem with crime in Newfane.
That's good to know.
I mean, when we did patrol, it was getting quite a few houses broken into, a lot of these little camps and different things like that off on some of these side roads. And that's what we said, that we wanted all of our roads patrolled, not just the villages. And like I said, I'm not trying to put the sheriff's department down, especially now. I don't even know what they are like, but I said, some of the answers we've got before we didn't like. And I said that I've noticed with the state police, I have been on a lot of back roads, and I will see them out there, Now I said it's just the presence of them being around, or law enforcement, is keeping the crime down, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we found in a lot of the towns that we patrol. When we do contracts, the townspeople want people on the back roads. They want to see the routers everywhere in town. So that's something that we try to encourage with the troopers.
I have a question. Since the town of Newfane includes not just the village of Newfane, but it includes Williamsville and South Newfane, and you probably have heard of the fact that the residents in South Newfane and Williamsville are very concerned because they say that there's a lot of speeding, particularly on the weekends. And when you speak about dealing with traffic violations and speeding, I'm asking this now to Mark. Do you, as a sheriff's office, go and patrol those roads too? Do you have a presence there?
So to answer your question, in terms of right now, no, we do not, because we don't contract with the town of Newfane. In the past, when we did contract, we would patrol those villages. We would make it out towards Lost Mile, as well as the various side roads in Brookside and South Newfane. So we did do that. Let's see. I believe we also had a $10,000 contract at the time, which I just ran the numbers quick. Our rate's $52 per hour. So that would be approximately 16 hours a month of service that we could provide. And then one thing I wanted to note, and glad to hear that burglaries are down in Newfane. We usually notice a seasonality to burglaries where we need to do the work and investigations to locate rings of burglars. Once we find them and arrest them, we notice that burglaries generally stop. So it's not uncommon that we notice periods of quietness followed by numerous ones that occur that we then investigate and apprehend the people doing it.
Good, thank you. And Anthony, I would like to pose the same question to you about patrolling South Newfane and Williamsville, since there's a constant upset about how driving and speeding is a very important issue for that village, those two villages, and Brookside.
Yes, if we hear that there's a concern of a problem area, while we're there, we'll add some enforcement to that area. And that happens quite frequently where people will bring up concerns of certain towns. We try to do it just in general. If someone brings up a concern, if we can add it into our regular patrols, aside from the town contracts, you know, that's always beneficial as well. But yes, it's good to hear about that, and we try to address it as much as we can.
So given that you said that you have done this, I have a question for you, because the various select boards throughout the last several years, including our select board, has worked very closely with the residents and of those two villages within the town of Newfane. And so do you find that if you have a presence there that the speeding does slow down and cars are more apt to follow the regulations? Have you gotten any feedback from that?
I honestly myself have not heard, but in general, yes, when we have a presence in a location, people are going to slow down. It's going to be temporary though. They're going to pick the speeds back up when we're not there. You really have to be in a location constantly for a long period of time before people really get the message. And if it's out-of-staters that are coming up on the weekends, they're not going to see the same reaction as local residents are going to see.
Shelley, thank you.
So my question is, a lot of people feel that it's the locals that are speeding at times. And so do you guys have any indicator of whether or not it's just the locals, or if it's a combination, or if it's weekenders, out-of-staters that are speeding?
I don't have that information at the time. I could check with the troops to see what they see. We also have a speed cart we could put out. It just can't be in a 50-mile-per-hour speed zone. So we could put a speed card out to grab some more data. It basically records the speed of the vehicle, the time of day. So it can give us some general information of when the traffic is the heaviest and what speeds they're going. It really helps as an enforcement tool to kind of pinpoint when the patrols would be most effective.
That would be a wonderful tool to have on Dover Road.
So I would ask Jay.
Wait.
Yeah.
Two of you were speaking, so
Oh.
we couldn't understand anything.
Go ahead, Shelley.
Go ahead, and then Angela, please. Go ahead, Shelley.
Okay, I just asked Jay. I mean, Jay's been handling our traffic control with the speed signs, with digital speed alerts. And maybe he can say something a little bit more about you using a speed cart. I know we can get information, but I don't know if we've been able to get much information off of the speed signs that we have, the digital signs that we have.
So the data off our signs is a little clumsy to work with. There's so much of it that it takes a lot of time to condense it down into a spreadsheet that's usable. We do find wherever we leave the signs, people tend to slow down. You know, even the length of time you're there setting them up, you can see people using the brakes the minute they see them. So it does work. If they have an easier system for getting some data out of it, that would be great. We did talk about getting a third sign so we can kind of keep them in the villages. And that's one of the things I've got on the bottom of my report I wanted to talk about tonight. But they definitely do help. So.
Are there any other- Yes, Shelley?
So
I'm sorry, it was Angela next.
No, go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead, Shelley.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
So in addition, would that cart be an additional cost, or is that just something that comes along with you and your services for the state trooper?
And we don't need a town contract to put the speed card up. So we have the speed card at the barracks. If someone wants to send me an email on where and when, the only thing is it's kind of expensive. So we like to put it in a secure location. So, you know, if there's someone in town that can kind of keep an eye on it, a lot of times we put it like on someone's lawn. It does have a lock on it with a chain, so we can chain it to, you know, a telephone pole or something like that, a tree, to make sure it doesn't drive itself away. But if there's some place that's secure in a good location, that's kind of a key point. We'd like to hang on to it.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions or comments that people would like to pose to Mark and Anthony at this point? Chris? Chris? No. Yes, Angela.
I would like to go back to something I had mentioned earlier. So if you're on your contract in the town of Newfane, wherever you are, if you're in Brookside and somebody from Newfane, like Wiswall Hill, called and said that they had a break-in, who would respond? I know the state police, if they're already here, they're going to respond. Does the sheriff's department respond as well? If
So
they're on contract?
Yeah, so going back to the how we customize the service for the town, ultimately we notify the state police when we're in a town for our service. So if there was a break-in and my deputy is in Brookside or really anywhere in the town, they would go.
Okay.
So, yep.
And then contact the state police?
Depending on what the type of call was, if it was something, let's say that it was a homicide, I mean, we would contact the state police and bring in the resources for major crimes. And that's just part of a process that we already build in.
Right.
So yeah, we would respond.
Okay. Well, I personally am very pleased to meet you, Mark. I live around the corner from the sheriff's office. I walk my dog in front of your place, but I've never met you, so very nice and gracious of you to join us tonight. And also Anthony French, thank you so much for representing the state troopers. I know that you do a great job. And
Mary, I have a question. I'm just wondering, at the contract, can you guys work together in a dual contract?
So years ago, we had dual contracts. It became incredibly confusing for residents on who to call when. And so if we were to consider a dual contract type situation, I think that it would be a much larger conversation with Lieutenant French and the town to figure out how we solve that problem. There were times that people would call my office to report things, and it became almost who's responsible for what and how do we handle this, which was just frustrating for everybody involved. So that was part of the reason why we got away from dual contracting. Another issue was which dispatch do you call, which now we've kind of worked at that. Call the state police and then they'll filter you to us unless we have a larger scale contract. We don't turn people away who call our office. We'll just do the same thing and transfer them to the state police if it's outside of our scope.
But if somebody walks into your office expecting to have something done and you don't have a contract with us, your response is that they would have to contact the state troopers.
That's correct.
Correct? Okay. A lot of people don't understand that.
No, and we take it as an opportunity to provide the education on the bizarre way that we're funded, as well as to connect them with services. I do want to just state one key piece is that if we have a person who's in crisis, if there's some horrific thing that happened, if there was a significant safety event that occurred at, say, Newbrook Elementary, we're coming, we're going to help you just like we would help Leland and Gray, even though we don't provide a contract to the town of Townsend. So we're not going to turn away people with an immediate need for safety or protection. What we do need is to have the state police investigate the follow-on stuff that is not immediate.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And are both of your offices fully staffed as far as troopers and sheriffs?
As of yesterday, yes.
Anthony?
So I have 3 new troopers that are completing the academy right now that will put me up to full staffing. I have 1 trooper that's out on military leave currently in the Massachusetts Guard, assisting with the COVID-19 response. But aside from that, we will be at full staffing.
Excellent.
You know, I do have to say, there was an article, well, not an article, but they were in the Reformer today. The Michael Fitzgerald, the policeman from, I guess, is he the head policeman, right?
He's the chief of Brattleboro Police Department.
He wrote a really lovely article. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but it's about the difficulties that we are all facing these days and the difficulty with not only the COVID-19, but this recent event with George Floyd. And protests that are showing up all over the country. And I didn't even realize that on Saturday there was a protest march in Brattleboro. But first of all, he was so proud of the fact of the way people handled themselves up here. And secondly, he really spoke about the commitment that he and his police force have to be compassionate and to be empathetic to the residents, and they welcome people to come and listen to them. They have, I think they have meetings once a month over at the Works where anybody can come and get a cup of coffee, I've heard. And I I'm just speaking for myself, but I think it would be great if people from the sheriff's office or the Vermont State Troopers would sometimes join us in select board, where we would have a date where we could have an announcement made that to the residents that you would have representatives so that they can meet with you and, you know, ask you questions or share their concerns. You're very important to us, and I really think I think that we would really gain a lot if you could do that once in a while.
I can say we'd be happy to do that. We frequently participate in community events with a variety of agencies around the county for a variety of different reasons. We don't have as cool of a name as Coffee with a Cop, which is what Brattleboro PD does.
Right.
But I'm thinking like a snack with the sheriff or something like that, or maybe snacks with the select board and the sheriff could be something. I don't know. I'll have to talk to my marketing team, which, by the way, that's me.
Yeah.
I did want to mention one thing just because it did come up and I didn't really speak to it. The Sheriff's Department does have 2 smart carts as well. We're looking at actually getting 1 to 2 more. And those are not provided at any additional cost to a town that we contract with. The only reason why we use them in towns that we contract with is because if I don't have a deputy driving to the town, then I don't have a way of paying for that person. So ultimately, if you contract with me, you have full access to the carts, and we bring those as needed or as we identify, and we're able to collect the data into a variety of reports so that you can not only get time of day, you can also see vehicle speeds and more. So we've done that as well as traffic studies, and we've had a lot of good positive feedback from select boards trying to determine if speed limits are correct for a road, where there's issues, and try and not just give a quantitative but a qualitative answer to what your issue is.
Thank you.
I have one more question. As far as the contracts go, do you guys give us a recommendation based on some sort of an analysis of our area for the contract, or do you leave it up to us to say it's 10 hours a month or 20 hours a month? How would you handle that?
Anthony?
We leave it up to the towns to decide based on your budgets, because that's where it's going to really impact you the most. Is it comes down to how much extra additional law enforcement time you want to see in town. I did check the total number of cases per year, which you had around 261. So far, it hasn't quite been a year, 11 months, but you know, Newfane doesn't have a ton going on, but you know, it's a fairly busy community with Route 30 going up through it. So you know, you have a little bit of attention there. So we don't want to, you know, to impact your budgets by saying this is how much time, you know, you should have us in town. We want to leave that up to you to decide.
Not much different. We certainly leave it up to the town to make a determination. I also like to qualify that with what the cost of this is to the taxpayer. We actually started doing the calculations for people based on what a 24-hour policing service from my office would be. This is for a town that was of a similar size to Newfane, slightly larger in terms of population. I'm not sure what about the grand list, but basically for less than the cost of a home security service for 3 months, we would provide 24-hour policing. So what I would say often is that's ultimately what the cost of the taxpayer would be. But we recognize that the board is a representative of the taxpayer and needs to balance the cost of what it is to live in your community. So I can give you advice, but I also want you to make that choice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other comment or question that we have for Mark or Anthony at this point? So what we will do is actually converse about this in the next week or two with the select board, and we will get back to both of you. And we thank you very much for taking out your time to be with us tonight, and just to recognize that it's a very difficult time all around the world right now with terrible things with the virus and the protests. And I can imagine that you're very busy and overwhelmed at time, and we certainly appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
And if you
very
have
much.
any further questions or any follow-up, please feel free to reach out. Let me know.
Thank you so much, and it was great that you came.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You
Okay,
too.
you too. Thank you.
Take care.
Okay, we are going to move on to our approval of the minutes. So the first set of minutes is from May 4th. And if somebody can make a motion to accept those minutes, Angela?
I'll make a motion to accept the May 4th minutes as amended.
Great. Any second, please? Okay, Christopher, okay. Any conversation about it? All those in favor say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, the ayes have it and it passes. And so we move on to approval of the minutes for May 18th. May I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve the May 18th minutes.
Thank you.
I have a question about the minutes.
Yeah,
So where it's listed on,
I'm sorry. I think that we have to make a second motion, then we can have a discussion.
okay,
Okay, so is there a second for approving the minutes? Can somebody second that?
I wasn't there.
Well, only 3 of us were there, so.
I'll second it.
Okay, so now, Shelley, we have time for a discussion.
Okay, so under the correspondence, where it's listed, you know, the different items that we had gotten emailed or mailed to us, it doesn't really explain what the correspondence is about. And my question is whether or not in our minutes that we should have copies of what those items are, or have a better description of what was discussed or what was read and how it was handled.
Okay, so you're requesting that if we have correspondence, you want to have
Maybe
data-
one line, a sentence,
Yeah, you just want
like,
a response that we read it, and if there was a discussion or outcome from it. Is that what you want?
Yeah, I don't know, like historically how it's been handled, but I mean, for somebody just to see rare plant survey, River Road, what does that mean? You know, it would be nice if it was more descriptive. And the question would be, do we include copies of correspondence in the minutes?
No, we don't. The correspondence is available for anybody to go and look at. You just ask whenever to give it to you. It's open, not just select board, but to the general public. You want to see it, but we don't make copies of correspondence. Correspondence comes in at any time. This week, unless there was some correspondence this afternoon, we don't have any correspondence this week. And so you asked about the past. I can only tell you when, I don't know how you did it with Pete Van Loon, but I can tell you previously when I was on the select board, and maybe Chris and Mike can tell you too, the correspondence came in, it was read at the end of the meeting as it is now. And if there was a discussion about it at the time, questions or reactions or responses, it was spoken about, and then that was it. And then it was put in a place that anybody could come and read it.
So where is that place that people would come to read it, or is it?
Winetta can show you. It's either, I think she has a file in one of the drawers and she'll tell you. She can show it to you and you can go and look at it.
Okay, so there's like a correspondence file. It's not kept
Yes.
with the minutes.
Yes. No, there's correspondence file by itself.
Okay.
Just go in and talk to Winetta about it. She'll show you exactly where it is.
Okay, that's not my question. I'm just asking to verify that there's correspondence somewhere attached or available, and also to expand on the discussion on the correspondence, what we discussed about that correspondence. So I'd like to have this amended to reflect these 4 items as to what we discussed on it.
Would you like to give an example to one of them? I'm just,
Well, for instance, rare plant survey, River Road, what was that about? I mean, it's you need a more of a description, and also what we decided to do with that correspondence. That's our responsibility as a select board. So that should be detailed, not just listed. I mean, the rare plant survey, we talked about that quite a bit, and we made suggestions on how to handle that. And I can't really recall what it was. And yes, there's a video and we could all watch it, but there's a lot of people who don't watch the video and they would rather see it in the minutes to be informed.
I don't think we've done that for the past year since I've been on the board.
I know it's
I know that since I've been on the board, it never was done. But
well, I'm asking that we do it and that we amend this minutes to reflect what was discussed.
Would you like to be in charge of writing that up?
No, I think we have an administrative assistant that could write that up.
Where is
That's her
that?
job. So it's not my job. I'm not going to take that on.
Any other comments or questions? Well, nobody else is responding. So I think right now, I don't think we're ready to make a decision one way or another. Right
Well,
now,
I make
nobody
a
else is
motion-
saying anything.
I make a motion that we add a description to this. I don't know why it's so difficult.
I didn't say it's difficult. I'm just saying nobody.
I'm just thinking about what exactly would need to be written. It doesn't need to be like the entire conversation. So is a 1-line sentence of the discussion enough?
Yeah, an overview of what it is. Yes.
But it doesn't have to be a paragraph. It can be
No.
maybe who wants to do the rare plant survey, and that we said,
Yeah, I
okay,
mean-
with questions, but we don't
Right.
have to list everything. Because otherwise it's going to be,
No, I mean,
our
it's
minutes are going to be
just a
10
short-
pages long.
The
Well,
thing
I'm
is,
not asking
Shelley,
for word by word.
Shelley, I would like to say something again. Try to understand that those correspondence are there for anybody who wants to come into the office. They are not hidden away. They are there available for anybody. If you want to come in and review it, if my next door neighbor hears about it and she wants to go in, she can go in at any time. The correspondence of all meetings are on file.
Okay, so let me make a motion that we add a description to the correspondence and we amend this set of minutes.
Yeah, well, you made that motion already.
Okay?
We
So
don't
no
know.
one's going to second it? I mean, it's a pretty simple
That's
thing.
what I said.
Oh, you at the meeting, right?
What,
What?
Mike?
There's only 3 at that meeting. I mean,
Right.
I don't see no harm probably adding a brief description. I mean, what kind of rare plants is there on River Road we're talking about?
Mike, can you sit down? I can't see you. I see your arm.
So I'm gonna stand for a while.
Oh, okay.
You know,
It's hard to understand.
I would second the motion if we kept it a very brief
Yeah.
description, because I don't think it needs to be anything more than 1 line. Otherwise, we're going to be reading a book every time we
Well, I
discuss
mean,
something.
1 or 2 lines is not going to make this, there's still some space on this page, but we need a description of what it is to inform the general public of what we received as correspondence.
It's
and any
on file.
decisions.
It's on file, Shelley, and they can watch the video and they can come into the office at any time. And what obviously we're feeling, because we haven't made a second to have this, is
I just
Angela made a second.
I just seconded it if it was left very brief as
Right.
to no more than a line or 2.
right, but it sounds like Shelley is not, you would
No.
rather have a longer description. Is that correct?
No, that's
rather
not
than
correct,
1
Mary, and you're making more out of this, and it's.
I'm not taking more out of this.
Okay, well, we've agreed it would be a line, a description of what
One
was,
line. One line.
yeah, no more, Marion, that's, would be off, it would just be awful if it was more than just 1 line. But a brief description.
And I would be more than happy to help Juanetta with it.
Okay, any further discussion? So all those in favor of having a description of each piece of correspondence after each meeting, which is going to be on file anyway, but the description will be 1 line, and Angela has offered to help Juanetta. All those in favor of that, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay.
It's only a meeting, so you're
I
voting on
can't
it.
hear you, Mike.
There was only 3 at that meeting anyway, so I mean, you guys are voting on the minutes. So I guess it sounds like it's passed. You got 2 to 1.
Well, no, this is a board decision at this point.
Well,
It's not-
that,
it's
that
not
should be
about the
made
minutes.
part as the minutes then.
Chris,
This is not a board decision, because you're on the minutes, and Mike and I weren't there. That's the minutes you're talking about. We can't.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
About that.
oh, okay.
You guys already passed it. Just 2 of you just voted, right?
Yeah,
But
so
You
it's
need a quorum, Mike.
2 to 1. There's only 3 there, so I'll take the quorum.
They vote for it.
Okay. Fine with me. So it passes, and Angela, thank you for offering to help Juanetta with that.
My
So-
pleasure.
So the minutes of Monday, May 18th will be amended.
We'll add something in for the next meeting to look at.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item. So now we need approval of the minutes. Anybody can make a motion to approve the minutes of May 18th, please say aye.
I don't think we can approve them at this point because
We have to amend them,
we have to amend them.
Okay.
and then we'll approve them at the next meeting.
Okay. And that will be after the minutes will be amended to include a line for each correspondence item.
Yes.
Okay, road business. Jay, road foreman and road commissioners report, please.
Okay, the crack sealing of the pavement went very well. Sealing was done on Depot Road, Dover Road, and Algol Road. The guardrail work was completed on the 2 new Hunter Brook bridges, and we started at the bottom of Depot Road and repaired the first 990 feet. The town attorney has the information to prepare the easements for the Depot Road box culvert. That was the next step we were on to. The plans for the sand salt shed have been updated again. The plans for the Depot Road box culvert have been updated again also. Once we get the easement signs, this will continue to move along. The meeting with the Northeast Municipal for the hazmat and safety at the garage went well. We identified the top 3 areas to work on first. These would be the items that VOSHA writes the largest fines for. And it's basically, it's the hazardous materials training and storage and, you know, some of the chainsaw safety, things like that, that they look at first. So we're going to work on those. And we had a mandatory pre-bid meeting at the Monroe Bridge this past Tuesday. We had 1 bidder and we have the bid to review tonight. Couple additions since I put these in. We have 2 dead ash trees in the Newfane Hill Cemetery also that are very large. Nothing you can get to with a piece of equipment. So we've got to figure out how to remove those without damaging the cemetery. Green up. Over the last month, we've been accumulating bags, but we ended up with 110 bags and 3 tires.
Wow.
And our white lines on the pavement have held up well this year, so we don't need to redo them. So we had money aside in case we had to redo them this year. And you had mentioned you may want to get a 3rd radar sign, so we have money left in there this year to do that with if you want to do it.
We would have to make a vote on that, Jay, for the sign.
Sure. Yep.
Okay, like for this meeting right now?
To get it paid for by the end of June, probably. They might be able to do it if we did it by the next meeting, but otherwise we wouldn't have it by the end of June to go in this year's budget.
So we have money in the budget for the sign, correct?
Traffic safety, yes. Yes.
Okay.
Where would you propose it goes?
Well, we've been keeping 1 up in Brookside and 1 in Williamsville. We don't have any in South Newfane, and we haven't had any to put in Newfane. So maybe we could alternate 1 between South Newfane and South Wardsboro Road.
Yeah, there's been a lot of complaints about South Wardsboro Road lately.
Yeah,
Yep.
Chris,
a lot of
I
speeding.
make a motion, boy.
I second it.
is there any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it and the motion passes.
Other than that, the tree we had talked about last year, the trees in the Beetlestone Cemetery, the ash trees that are dying, we're still working on a plan to try to get those out of there safely. It's not accessible by normal bucket truck that the tree companies have, so I've called Brown's Rentals, and they have a tracked lift that's 60-foot reach, which we're trying to figure out if 60 feet will do it, or we have to come up with another plan. So that's still in the works. But now we've got these 2 more trees that Mark Gray pointed out when he was mowing on the Newfane Hill Cemetery. So ash trees are going to be a huge problem. We've got 1,400, I believe, in town.
How many? 1,400?
I believe so, yeah.
We've counted them all, huh?
We did an inventory, yeah. Down by road of how many we have, and it's kind of scary. So I'll get back to you by the next meeting on how we're gonna try to get these out of the 2 cemeteries.
So could you just say a little bit more about what the ash tree issue is?
So the emerald ash borer is making its way around. I'm not sure that that's probably what killed it, because they claim we don't have it here, but all of a sudden the ash trees are really dying. It seems like more around the cemetery, there's 3 and possibly a 4th on Beetlestone that are looking like they're dying. The 2 up there in Newfane Hill, and I haven't even looked at all the other cemeteries. I think there may be 1 up on Lost Mile or Betterly Cemetery.
Did everybody get the sheet in your package?
Yes.
Okay, so that's all the information about the trees.
Well, it's emerald ash borer, but Jay is saying that it may not be that's the reason why our trees are dying.
They claim it hasn't been hitting our trees yet, but I don't know if that's true or not. We may have it here already. I don't know, but they're saying it's in Londonderry, so it's not that far away. I mean,
Chris, I'm sorry, Chris,
Most of the ash trees that are dying now are dying in the stump. So when they go down, they don't just break apart a lot of them. They come down in one blast. And around the cemeteries, they do that. You got those old slate stones.
Mhm.
You can't replace them. So they have to be taken down carefully.
and Jay, you also said the other day when you came into town hall and we were speaking to Winetta and myself, and you said that even if the trees don't have the borers at the moment, it will come. And that also it's very important to plan how the trees would be taken down, because if they're cut down and lie on the ground,
Right.
can affect other trees also, right?
we should come up with a plan this coming year of how we're going to remove them, and you're going to want to start to cut even the live ones to get ahead of it.
Yeah.
And Jay, also like what you can see is like a ring around the whole trunk, correct? And if they're bored into?
There you can see the borings. There's I have another sheet. I don't have it in front of me here, but there's another one that shows really good pictures of the insects that people could see. Maybe I can try to get one and leave it at the office so people can see it, or we could put it on the website, either one.
Yeah, on the website would be
So
good.
people can watch for it.
But they have like holes that they make a ring around the trunk generally. Is that
And then
correct?
the trees, when they're cut down and transported for firewood or whatever, they get moved around,
Oh, yeah.
spreading.
Yeah.
So you'll be working with Mark on how to go about that and possibly getting an estimate of what it may or may not cost.
Yep.
Also, I remember from the other day, you were saying that residents who have these trees really need, or not just residents, but businesses really have to be informed that if they don't do something now and wait, it could be much more costly.
Right.
And they are responsible on their own to have the trees removed. And that would make it a very expensive proposition. Is that correct?
Right. The ones in the right of way, the wood can belong to the landowner if they want it, but if it's in the town right of way, which is 24.5 feet from the center line, then we would cut them down, but then it's up to them if they're going to use the firewood or we have to dispose of it. But yeah, they're much safer to cut down when they're still alive. Once they've died, they become very dangerous.
Yeah. Chris?
If they're alive, they can climb the tree to top it and take it down. If they're dead, the insurance will not allow any tree man to
Yeah,
climb up the tree.
Right.
yeah. Thank you.
But I mean, that goes.
That's very important for people to know.
That goes the same for all the trees in town that are dead.
Except according to one of the tree guys, that the ash is worse. Apparently, as it starts to die, it becomes like a styrofoam cup,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets it becomes unstable. And it's more dangerous than, say, a dead maple is to cut down.
I mean, there's millions of ash trees.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, besides the ones on the road, there's a ton of them. But I mean, and just like I said, there's a lot of dead trees, no matter what, besides ash. I guess they finally, you took that one down up on Timpson and Elaine, was that maple and stuff. So
Yep.
that kept breaking off. It could have done the same thing as an ash, you know. But yeah, there's definitely probably something to look at. But I mean, as long as they're still alive, they're not a problem. Let's just have to keep an eye on them as they start to die. Cut the things, I guess.
Well, I think it's very important that,
I mean, I couldn't imagine
People-
around 1,500 of trees.
that people understand that if, what Jay was saying, if it's on the road in the right of way, and if the town cuts them off and they bear the responsibility, that's one thing. If the owner decides, well, just leave it here and don't do anything, they eventually will be responsible for cutting them down and having them removed, and that will be an extraordinarily expensive bill for them. And I think it's important that they understand that.
Right.
Okay, any further discussion?
I
Anybody?
think that's all. And then we have the bid for the Monroe Bridge too.
So I guess we could open that, I guess. That's how
Well, I
we do
think
it.
on that bid though, I was talking to Jay earlier, and on that bid, Mark said he thought maybe as long as there's only one person at the showing, we ought to rebid it. We do, we don't want to open the bid that we've got.
And we're gonna try to pare down the scope of work to a little more manageable. He thought we might get another couple of bidders if we didn't make it such a large project. It includes several different groups of people that would have to work on the bridge, and so you only attract the largest companies that were willing to deal with it. So his suggestion was we eliminate the cleaning and greasing of the beams as a separate project a year or two down the road and concentrate on repairing the concrete and the plug joints in the road, the more critical stuff, and put that out to bid and see how we make out.
And I have no problem opening it as long as you're gonna accept the bid tonight, if it's within the budget. I mean, I don't want to open it and then all of a sudden say, oh, we're gonna rebid it.
That's true. Then his price is already out there.
Yeah.
Well, if
Yeah.
the recommendation from Mark was to rebid it, that's something to think about.
I mean, the people that were invited, I mean, they were invited to bid, they didn't come, so I mean, I don't know if they missed out or what, and like I said, as long as he's got everything he's supposed to have in it and it came within the budget, I guess that'd be a different story. I mean, you couldn't really refuse not to do it.
Well,
I wouldn't put it out there to open it and then say we're gonna rebid it.
Shelley?
so I think because of the COVID-19 situation, that might have been an issue. I think we should probably break out the project and see about, doing it in stages.
Either that or table it till our next meeting and ask the other two bidders if they didn't want their shot at bidding it. Up to you guys, but I mean, if we open
I agree with Shelley.
it, I think we ought to award it.
So
Is there a motion? Does somebody want to make a motion to?
I'll make a motion that we send it out to rebid for the other companies to come back and look at it with what Jay was saying.
I'll second it.
And, okay. and
I'll
would
see
be-
if we can pull it off by the next meeting.
That would be June 15th meeting.
It has to get in the paper. I can't remember how long Juanetta said it takes to get in the paper. Do you
Where is Winetta?
Lost power.
Winetta, where are you?
Lost power.
Is she at the table?
Oh. Can
Lost
she
power.
share with you, Chris? Can she sit next to you? or-
Not
She has to be 6 feet away and they both have to wear a mask.
Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Does anyone else remember how long it takes to get into the newspaper?
3 days.
3 days.
Okay, so if we do it tomorrow, maybe we can get it for the next meeting.
Jay, can I also ask, I am always asking this, where's the Moreau Bridge?
If you head towards Dover, there's a bridge that's on a curve right next to Penner Road.
Okay, yep,
It's actually one of the longest town bridges in the state. So that's why they're helping us to preserve it. It would be a huge expense to replace if we ever had to.
ah,
So they gave us the grant to help us work on it. So it would be an expensive one to fix and repair. And so we're trying to keep up on it rather than let it get too far. So.
Okay, so can somebody make a motion that we wait? Chris?
I just got one thing to say. It was put in the bid before that it had to be, going to be open today, this meeting. For this outfit that bid on it, expects it to be open today. That's the way it was put out. Whatever.
I already made a motion which Shelley seconded, so it's time to vote on it.
Okay, all those in favor of postponing opening bids and also allowing other people to hand in their bids until our next select board meeting on June 15th, please say aye.
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 Mike or Chris?
Oh,
Well, like I said, if the guys knew what they were bidding on, as long as it didn't come in over our budget.
With,
Open it,
Wait a minute. Chris, are you saying no?
yeah,
Nay?
no, because we said it was.
Mike, are you saying no?
Well, like Christopher said, it was supposed to be awarded tonight,
Okay,
one way or the other. I mean, it doesn't matter how many people come in with a bid. I mean, obviously the other people knew about it. If they didn't put it in, they didn't get it in on time or whatever.
yeah,
Nothing to do with this bid you got now. If you do open it, you either award it, or if it's way over budget, then it doesn't happen.
But Jay, when he was speaking about it, mentioned that he spoke with Mark and that they could change it.
he figures the reason no one else bid on it is because it was too large a project. And that if we were to scale it down and put that out to bid, we'd have better luck.
So that's what my motion was based on.
so then it's a change. It's a total.
Right, we would change what we put out to bid. It would be a brand new bid would go out.
Yeah, brand new bid. Okay, so then, does somebody want to change the motion, the original motion?
That was my original motion. It was based on what Jay had said after discussion with Mark.
Can you repeat that, please?
My motion was to do the rebid based on what Jay's discussion with Mark about the project and the change of the project.
Okay, so does that change Chris or Mike's vote, or are you still saying nay?
I'll still say nay.
And Chris, you say nay?
I'll say no because it was worded to put out the other way.
Okay. So I'm going to break the tie because it's tied now, and I'm going to vote nay. I would like to see the bid open since this person was told that it would be open tonight.
Okay.
Who has the bid? Renetta?
Jay has it, you have one. I emailed.
May I ask, please, before we open the bid, when you were saying it, what was the budget? What was the top of the budget for this bid, this job?
I believe it was 210,000. Hang on.
I think we should know before we open it.
Fair?
Yep, I believe it was 210.
So that was our number that we were looking to be under?
Yep.
That's a budget.
Okay.
Okay, so Renetta, do you have the bid in your hand? Or Jay?
Yep, I've got one right. Hang on just a second.
Okay, so do you want to open it and read it?
I'm just printing it. Hold on.
Okay, thank you.
You want me to read it, Marion?
Sure.
Okay, the bid from Daniel's Construction, their total bid is $561,970. But if you eliminate the number 5 until next year, it comes in under budget.
So what, we need to hear all the areas. What's number 5?
Clean, prime, and grease the steel beams, and they're estimating that would not be completed until August of 2021.
Well, it's over budget anyways.
But if you eliminate that number 5, which is the 351,000 that puts it over budget, it comes in if they do the other 4 items on the bid.
Yeah, but what's now saved, Jay? What's Mark telling you? You want to break it down into like greasing, or he just do away with that?
He said that was the least important part of the bid. So if we go with the plug joints and seal the curbs, clean out and reinstall the drainage troughs, repair the piers where the concrete's really been eroded from the water not running out the troughs, and then repair the concrete curbs on the lower side of the bridge where the salt runs against it. That was what he was suggesting we go out to bid with, and leave the steel beam part of it as a whole separate project for a year or 2 from now.
So Juanetta said that if you take that section out, it would be within our specs or
I think
our
it was
budget.
lower.
I think what we should do now, you've opened the bid, you looked at it, give it to Mark to go over, come back with the recommendations.
Yep.
At our meeting, and we'll award it at our next meeting.
He wanted that anyway.
Huh?
Mark wanted to see the bid before.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I said. So we've opened it tonight, we've discussed it. Let him come back with his recommendations. He recommends that grease thing doesn't need to be in, and this and this and that. Get it down, and everything looks good to him. In our next meeting, we'll do the bid, award the bid.
Okay.
Do you want to, how do you want to go about it? If he wants us to rebid it, do you want to get that out, or you want to wait till the next meeting, or how do you want to do it?
Well, when can you talk to Mark and show him?
I talk to him tomorrow, I'm sure.
So then, can you tell Juanetta and let Juanetta inform all of us?
Sure.
So, does that work for everybody? Chris?
I think, if he's not happy with it, wants to go out to bid, we ought to vote right now for Jay to put it right back out to bid.
Okay. Shelley?
Is Mark from the state?
Yeah, he's our V-Trans engineer that they actually wrote up the specs for this bridge. And
Yeah, have him review it. I understand now.
they're
Yeah.
giving us the money to pay for the majority of it too.
Right.
So it's a grant project as well?
Yes.
So I'm going to repeat my understanding of this is that Mike suggested that you show Mark the bid.
Yep.
And you have a discussion about it. And then based on that, you're going to let the members of the select board and Juanetta know what he said. And
Right.
that we will be able to accept it, or we will put it out to bid again for the June 15th select board meeting. Is that correct?
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
I just sent it off to him, so he should have it when he gets in the morning.
Right. Okay. So
Right.
does that work for everybody now? I think that's fair. Angela?
Yep.
Shelley? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, Jay. Thanks, Chris. And Shelley and Angela. We came to a decision. Yay. Very good. Okay. Next item. Is that the end of your report, by the way? We
That
need-
is, yes.
Need to approve the report. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to
Thank you.
approve his report.
I'll
Is there a
second it.
Okay, second. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, great. The ayes have it, and the road foreman and road commissioners report is approved. And thank you very much, Jay and
Sure.
Chris, for all the work you do. Okay, the next item is treasurer's report, and that's Melissa. Welcome, Melissa. Thank you for your patience.
No problem. Sorry about the dog. All right, so for the town-owned property, I've completed gathering all the information needed for selling off the 4 town-owned properties. Can you hear me?
We're not hearing well.
Yes.
Hold on a second.
Yeah. What's happening?
Sorry.
As soon as you started, he started.
Yeah, the kids just came home. Okay. So I've completed gathering all the information needed for selling off the 4 town-owned properties. I emailed everything off to Bob Fisher. I also emailed you guys what Bob sent back to me for the board to sign, and then we can put it in the Brattleboro Reformer. Hopefully you guys got that attachment now. I know there were some problems with it.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay. I think it's best that we advertise it this Saturday's issue. Hopefully it'll be seen by more people then. The information that I gathered was I calculated for each property what was sold at tax sale, plus what would have been owed to the town after the tax sales were completed. I researched back to see what the attorney fees were for doing the tax sales. I also pulled all the deeds for the properties because Bob will need those also at some point. Doris printed me out all the lister cards along with the maps to the properties. The reason I wanted the maps was so I could send out letters to all the abutting owners of the properties that are for sale. I figured that'd be a good idea to let them know that the property that adjoins theirs will be up for sale in case they're interested. I will also send them a copy of the maps to show them which property is being sold, the minimum amount for the bids, plus the date the bids have to be in by. You will notice that one of the properties does not have a minimum bid amount. And the reason for that is because it was sold back in 1986 for tax sale. So we figured it was best just to sell it for best offer because we probably won't be able to recoup the taxes back from 1986.
What do you mean? It was sold back in 1986?
Yep, for tax sale.
And what happened to it?
It's just been sitting on town record, I guess, for nothing, like the town owns it.
Oh.
It's never been put back on the books.
Oh. Okay.
The sealed bids will need to be in by July 6th for the select board to open them. Other than that, I've completed my Vermont State and Beamer's reports monthly. All payroll, accounts payable, and taxes are still being done daily. I'm going to start going through all my accounts, my reports to get things ready for close at the end of this fiscal year. I'll be making sure everything is balanced and doing my end of the year journal entries.
Great job, Melissa.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a question about the legal notice. If you can explain this, because it says in the first paragraph at top, it says that the select board of the town of Newfane hereby provides notice to the community and to the public at large that in accordance with Title 24 Vermont Statutes annotated section 1061A, it intends to convey by quitclaim deed and subject to any persons in possession thereof certain parcels of real property owned by the town of Newfane by virtue of prior collector's deeds, said parcels described. So the fact that all of these are going to be sold as quitclaim deeds?
Yeah, they're just quitclaim property transfers. And it kind of means that what Bob's put in there is that when they buy the property, they get the property as is. So like one of the properties has the owner still living on it, or the previous owner, excuse me, because the town owns it now. So that previous owner is still there, and it's going to be up to the new property owner to remove that person and the belongings.
Okay, and I I wrote down a definition of quitclaim. I went on Google so that I could clarify with everybody. It says a quitclaim deed is when a real estate property transfers ownership without being sold. So it means that the grantor, the person who's selling the property, cannot, does not have clear deed to the property, deed title. So that means that if you buy the property, you are buying it without having a clear title or deed to the property.
We
Because-
actually already have the deeds to it. The
Right.
town has the deeds to everything.
So why is it then, if it's transferred as quitclaim deed, why is it saying that there's going to be clear title? Why is it quitclaim if there's going to be clear title? If quitclaim property says that, if the definition says that it's not going to be sold without being sold.
Yeah, I'm not sure why they call it a quitclaim deed. All I know is that we do have the deeds to everything. We have the, all the property transfers are in the town of Newfane's names.
But it's saying it's intended to convey by quitclaim deed.
Yes,
which means
Yeah.
On a
It's an easy
quitclaim
way to
law,
transfer.
You can inherit that too, right?
What's that?
They quitclaim it to you, and there's a mortgage on that, you'd inherit the mortgage and everything. You don't get the land free and clear, you just get, you're gonna pay the tax to the town to clear the town of the due taxes. But if you quitclaim it, I mean, if there's mortgages, for one thing is the bank holds first mortgage on anything like that. So all you're inheriting that guy's debt. Really. And they got a year to reclaim it, and then if nothing, you get a certain percent interest on your money for the taxes. But meanwhile, somebody's got to pay that payment too. I don't know if it's that guy that owns it now, if he keeps paying his payments, or the guy that gets the quitclaim deed, you take over the guy's payments too.
When these all go into tax sale, if they don't get redeemed, basically the delinquent tax collector does a quitclaim deed to the town of Newfane, which then transfers it over into the town, which that's what's happened to all four of them at this point.
Mhm.
Goes to the town.
Yep.
So there's no responsibility from the
Torn,
previous owner.
right.
No. Usually if there's any kind of mortgage or escrow, the escrow companies will pay them off before they even get into tax sale.
All I know about the quitclaim deed is that it's an easier transfer. And if the lawyer's saying that that's for us to do,
Mhm.
I would say that the lawyer knows what he's doing.
Oh, I'm sure the lawyer knows what he's doing. I have a question. And is this the way the tax sales are done every year? I don't remember that saying quitclaim deed in the past.
Well, this isn't really a tax sale, so this is kind of town sale, because they've already gone through the tax sale.
You don't have,
Yeah,
in a quitclaim deed, you don't have a total guarantee.
Yeah, I don't know. That'd have to be something for Bob, but I do believe it is a guarantee. It's a done deal.
So in other words, these properties that you have right now, they've been sold out back to the town like a year or two ago.
Right.
Yep.
Town property already. So the town
Right,
has,
because what happened,
right,
sorry, when they went to tax sale, nobody bid on them. And at that point, the town had to bid on them.
right.
No, I know that. I remember that. I've been at those things. But my question is, why are these being conveyed by quitclaim deed?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly can't answer. That'd be a Bob Fisher question, I guess.
Okay, I think we should ask him that. I mean, I personally, if, let's say I wanted to buy a property and it says quitclaim deed, I would be very wary about it until I understood totally.
Already owns it, and the deed is in the town of Newfane's name. I guess that's just how one way, easier way of getting her out, doing it is they just,
Easier transfer. I would trust our attorney
they just
decision.
to the guy that buys it now.
I'm trusting the attorney's decision. I want to understand it.
Right.
Understand why that is.
Sounds good.
Mistrusting, I need clarification.
I'll reach out to Bob tomorrow and get that answer for you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Carol Hasselback might also know that too.
Okay, great.
Well, I think that can we make a motion on if Marion is satisfied with what the quick claim deed states and that the attorney made a decision that's fine? Can we just approve it now?
Of course. Of course.
So I make a motion that we put these up for, what is it, auction or
So,
Sealed bid.
a bid?
Yeah, you're doing the sealed bids.
Oh, a sealed bid. Yes.
Yep.
Okay, Shelley, I just want to explain again. I'm not asking for this to be delayed or not going forward. I just had
Okay.
a question about it. That's all.
Okay. So I just make a motion that we put it up for sealed bid.
second it.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays? Okay, great. The ayes have it. And it will be put up to bid. Thank you, Melissa, for all your work.
I make a motion to accept the treasurer's report.
Chris has got his hand up.
Oh, sorry, Chris. I didn't see that.
You gotta make a motion to have somebody authorized to sign the paper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So wait, so how about a second for Chris's motion, please?
I'll second it. Well, who are we going to have sign it? The select board chair?
That's fine. I will sign it.
I can sign it. Is it just one person that we need?
Yeah, I think so.
Chris?
Well, that's what the motion is for, is to have one person sign for all of us.
Okay.
Okay, I can go down after this meeting. When Etta has a copy, I'll sign it. Is that good?
Shall we vote?
Sure, go ahead. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. Okay, the ayes have it.
And now I'll make the motion to approve the treasurer's report.
Okay,
I'll second it.
okay. Any discussion about the report? All those in favor of accepting it, please say aye.
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 Okay, any nays? Okay, the ayes have it and the report has been accepted. And we move on to administrative assistance report. Wherever Lynetta is. I think she's going to sit at Chris's chair right now. Hi.
Hi. Okay, so I wrote the letters as requested, and I'm grateful for the quick responses from both the Vermont State Police and the Windham County Sheriff, and for them agreeing to attend tonight's select board meeting. I've had several meetings with the select board chair to discuss policy, this week's agenda, and planning future agendas. Meeting with the road foreman regarding current updates and issues with the DMV registrations. The building committee had a brief meeting on Thursday, and research was done regarding permits and state regulations for the proposed 27 by 30 addition to the town hall. This is both complex and time consuming. The town could be better served by hiring a knowledgeable engineer to handle these permits and to be sure that the state regulations are followed, or there could be severe financial penalties and unnecessary delays. And there's further information down on the agenda regarding the purchasing policy regarding the engineer. And one addition to my report, after Jay speaks with V-Trans and he informs me to let the select board know the results of the discussion, nothing can be done with that unless there's a quorum or a special meeting called until the next select board meeting. So if there's a discussion and a decision, at least 3 of you have to call a special meeting to make recommendations, unless you change it to follow V-Trans recommendations tonight. Okay? And then I used a half a day on Wednesday, the 20th, and a half a day Thursday as a personal day.
Okay, thank you, Winetta.
You're welcome.
Okay, well, let's start at the top. So my question for you is, what was the discussion of the policy? I know I asked you in person, but it's not listed on your report.
It's the purchasing policy, and there's a special section in there that's going to be discussed further down on the agenda.
It's the next item after Winetta's.
Yep.
that we're going to discuss, the town hall.
Oh, for professional services?
Yes.
Okay.
So I guess I would just be more detailed about that. We discussed about the purchasing policy, but
We're going to discuss it on the next item.
Yeah.
Under old business,
No.
town hall.
Marion, in her report, she said she had several discussions or meetings with the select board chair, and one was to discuss the policy. So I was
Right,
asking.
so it's on the agenda.
It was.
I know, I get that. All I'm asking is that it be more clarified in her.
We're clarifying it as soon as we approve her report. We're clarifying what,
It was brought to my attention that it had been overlooked in the purchasing policy, that it was not necessary to put this particular bid out because of the special clause in your purchasing policy, which you approved last April.
Which was for professional services that it did not need to be sent out to bid.
Correct. If you look at the special
No,
conclusions, it was brought to my attention, and that's what we discussed between the select board chair, myself, and another individual, that it needed to be brought up tonight, that it could be an oversight considering the work that Cotton Engineer and Design have already done for the job and past work experience with both the town hall and the office.
And that's in reference to the email letter that you sent out to us from
Correct.
him. Okay.
Is there another question?
the next one is on number 3 about issues with the DMV vehicle.
Jay's been having difficulty getting his renewals sent back to him because of the previous 296 post office box.
Okay,
All of that mail used to go to that post office box, and the post office doesn't forward it. So now when a truck comes up for renewal, it just gets bounced back to DMV and we never see it.
oh. So is there some way you can go online and just change that PO box on all the registrations?
You can't do it online. Winetta was going to try to call them directly and get somebody to see if they could change them all.
Okay,
That's a good day's task, trying to get through to DMV.
Right now, they're not doing nothing for 90 days anyways. Registering it.
I just renewed one online. That's why I don't know if your vehicles are anything different because they're town vehicles or not.
I did it online, but when they mail us the sticker, it doesn't come to us.
Huh.
Because it's the wrong address, so
It
you have to
gets
talk to
returned.
somebody in person.
Right.
I would like to say to you, Juanetta, that the bunting looked very nice on the town hall for the holiday.
So my next one is number 4 about the building committee meeting. Did you guys have a building committee meeting?
Yes,
And who's on the building committee meeting, committee?
Melissa Brown. and Mike Fitzpatrick and myself.
Okay, so what did you do what did you discuss at the meeting? About research was done on regarding permits and state regulations for the proposed 27 by 30 foot addition to the town hall.
Shelley? The next item on the agenda is a discussion about what they talked about. It says
Okay.
old business town hall addition, and that's the next item on the agenda.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve Juaneta's report so that we can move into that discussion about the town hall edition.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor of approving Juaneta's report, please say aye.
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 Mike?
I said aye.
Oh, I didn't hear you. I can't see you, Mike. Okay. Yes, Jay?
What Juanetta said about the bridge is true. I don't know how to word it, but can we word it if Mark's suggestion is that we go ahead and rebid it with the new specs, that we can go ahead and do it without you guys having to meet again?
You'd have to amend the motion, right, Juanetta?
You would have to make a motion to follow the recommendations given by V-Trans, Mark Pickering, and the road foreman and road commissioner.
Second it.
It would need to be of something. I'm not making a motion. I can't do that.
You're the one gonna write it down, so you just.
Okay, I make the motion that what Juanetta had said about making getting a recommendation, letting the,
To follow the
V-Trans.
recommendation,
go ahead.
to follow the recommendations of V-Trans, the road foreman, and the road commissioner.
Correct. That's my motion.
Second.
Thank you.
Anybody seconding?
Mike did.
I second it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you for the motion. It passes. So, Juanetta, thank you very much for your report. And now we're moving on to the next, well, the next item is unscheduled members of the public, and we don't have any at this point. So we're moving on to old business, and the first item is, actually, let's just say that the second item is taken care of already. The treasurer's legal notice for real estate auction to be signed, and we just voted on that. So we only have one item under old business, and that is the town hall addition. And I'll start by saying that I was one of the people who said aye last week when we had a motion to have other bids or have bids put in for the town hall addition. And unfortunately, I feel that I was incorrect in doing it, and I take full responsibility that I voted for something that I realized later was something I would not have voted. I would have voted no for that. Because on the last page, page 3 of our purchase policy, it says professional services. The bid process shall not apply to the selection of providers for services that are characterized by a high degree of professional judgment and discretion, including legal, financial, auditing, engineering, risk management, and insurance services. And given that the building committee had already met and talked to David Cotton, who in the past has spent a lot of hours in the last few years working with Town Hall on different issues, being very involved in the past when we were dealing with should we have a new building or not. David did a lot of work for us, and he is a member and a resident of the town of Newfane. and he is an engineer, and therefore that should not go out to bid. So that's,
Now, okay. My thought is that, let's back this up. When did the building committee bring anything to the select board for approval for design? Do we have that written down in minutes anywhere? No?
It was back in December or January, and the previous select board chair deferred any further use or decisions until after the new board was selected.
So what does that mean, that we didn't make a motion on it?
You chose to defer it until after, but as far as going forward, but the building committee has still been meeting and collecting information and data.
Okay. Well, that doesn't mean that we gave any authority to anybody to expend any dollars or whatever. It was just a committee getting information to bring to the select board, correct?
It was agreed that there was $130,000 in the budget for the renovations or additions to the building in order to comply with the safety codes and access to the second floor of the existing building.
So was there a motion? Not the agreement. Was there a motion made that we were moving forward to build an extra rooms on that building?
We were authorized to gather the information and bring it to the select board.
Okay.
We met with the engineer and the design in order to meet compliance. And that's what we're talking about tonight, is the design needs to have a stamped approval before the state fire safety marshal will accept the permits. And the only way the town can get that permit signed or stamped is by a licensed engineer.
Okay. But have we approved to have this addition done?
We're not getting the addition done yet. We're going through the process of obtaining the permits.
Well, I think as a board, we need to make a decision whether or not we're going to expend the dollars that you say that we have in the budget for this expansion. And honestly, right now with the whole COVID-19 and the state budget increases and school tax increases, et cetera, increasing, I think it would be in our best interest to put this all on hold for right now. There's no decision made to go forward on this. There was no decision made, and it's all just an investigative, process. And I think we just need to put it on hold and look at our budget in the next coming years.
Are there plans out there for this addition? Because the only thing I believe I have seen is changes to the inside of the current building.
No, you were given a copy of the addition, the plans for the addition off the back of the building.
When was that?
Back
I've
in
never seen it.
January.
I don't recall ever seeing that. I believe the last thing I saw was changes to the current building.
Frank Saponsky had been on the original committee. When he resigned as animal control officer, he resigned from all of his positions. He's the one that had originally made the designs. We just need to get them, the change to the design. We just need to get an engineer to sign off and to follow the state regulations for access to the disability. The fire safety marshal won't approve the plans without an engineer stamp on it. If we can
I
get
don't think we need to have,
approved,
wait, can Winetta please finish?
if we can get the permits approved this year, we can have an extension for another year. But if we wait until the spring of 2021, we have to start all over again, which means the town office won't get its addition and it won't get its remodeling.
Okay, like I said, I think we should all make a decision in the best interest of our community, not to expend and money to make an addition on the building that is already currently being used. And we don't know what the future is going to bring. As, you know, for instance, you were working remotely. A lot of the staff was working remotely, elected officials. So having, you know, additional space just doesn't really make any sense to me personally, to tie up funds that we may end up having to use in a more productive, important way.
I believe it's already been put into a fund that is for the town hall. I don't believe you would be able to use that money unless it's voted on at a town meeting. It's like the highway department. It's already in a special fund.
Well, we have a building fund, right, for maintenance and whatever else. We just got X amount of dollars in it.
But just to go forward with getting the permits approved and starting the other permits, he's just asking for a $5,000 retainer. And then when the work starts, his whole fee is a total of $15,000 for the engineer.
I don't think we're to that point at this, like I'm saying. I understand what you're saying, but I don't.
I'm just trying to clarify the information so that you guys can make your best judgment.
I would still like to see the plans for the addition and what it's going to be.
Yeah, I haven't seen it either.
Like I said, the only changes I've seen are what's the changes inside the building that's already being used.
Yeah, I don't recall that.
It's been hanging up by the water cooler since last December.
Well, I think as a committee, okay,
And
as a
copies were
committee,
made
you
for
need,
everybody.
What?
okay, as a committee,
I can't hear you.
as a committee, I think you need to bring it to the select board and propose it as a committee. We have not seen any of this. If it's hanging on the wall, I haven't seen
Right
it.
there. It's
Angela
right-
hasn't seen it,
Wait a minute, wait a
but
minute.
Marianne,
This
it's
is,
not proper.
excuse me for a second. This was done before I was on the board. So you'd have to go back and discuss what you did and didn't do before March. I have nothing to do with that, but I'm saying that there is a design on the board by the water cooler that was put up way before I came back. So has nothing to do with me, Shelley.
For our next meeting, we get copies to everybody for the board with a description of what they planned on doing.
That's a great idea, Mike.
I mean, it's just like I told Winetta and them, I mean, I know like Cotton and them, I mean, 15,000, we got 100 and some $1,000 in the thing. I mean, when you have somebody design it like that, and start doing all this stuff, I mean, when you start talking to the state, you're probably looking at $200,000 to $300,000 addition. I mean, because they base everything on like an 8% of the cost of the building. And I mean, I don't even know if he knows what we're really looking at. I don't know if he's seen the plan or not, you know? And I said that, you know, Frank drew it up, figured we could do something kind of simple. It was just a 2-room thing. They were going to take the windows out of the building that's already there and reuse them on the back side of the new building. And, you know, I mean, and you know, what we did actually, when we talked about it one time, when I asked him to come down, you know, Bill Morris came down and looked it over as a carpenter and give his thoughts on what he thought of doing about it. We thought one time if we could have kept it all just pretty much in the town with what workforces that we have, we could have gone and done this thing for the $100,000 that we have in the budget.
So who would be in charge, Mike, of getting all the permits and the things that are needed for a building like this versus when you're building a residence? I mean, I think that David Cotton has had a lot of experience working in Newfane.
Oh, I'm sure he has.
The WW building, the other little building next to the Fat Crow.
Yeah.
So why would we start with somebody new? If we were going to go through with this, why would we start with somebody new when David Cotton has the connections and the information and the knowledge of what's needed? Plus, he did a lot of work when a few years ago, when there was a concern about perhaps getting a totally new building, he was working on that with that building committee. I was not on the committee, but
Oh, yeah. No, I know what he's done.
a large.
Marion,
Yeah.
We do a lot of work on the select board too for $100.
Marion,
I didn't hear what you said, Shelley. You
I
interrupted.
said, we do a lot of work for the community for $100 a year. Or whatever it is. I don't even know what it is. I never collected it.
I don't know what.
But I'm just saying.
I don't have a problem working with David Cotton, and I love all the work that he does. It's more so just the fact that I'd like to see the plans before we make any decisions.
Of course,
point of
That's all.
Exactly.
of course. I didn't realize that you hadn't noticed it on the.
No,
Marion,
Oh,
Marion,
Yes,
point of information. On October 21st, it was on the agenda for meeting room remodeling.
what year?
which is that room there that we have seen.
Right, but in the minutes of the meeting, better workspace environment, I'll just drop down to the recommendations. A recommendation to appoint a building committee and table the remodeling decision until budget season. Mr. Fitzpatrick made the motion, Ms. Huber seconded it. And then Ms. Huber made a recommendation to appoint Mr. Fitzpatrick as a point person to report back to the select board regarding the addition.
That's great. But like
So-
I said, that plan that's hanging up by the water cooler is something that should have been sent to us when it first came in. I've never seen it.
When
Well,
did that plan, when was that plan?
Started going out over, hold on, Marion. We started to go over this whole thing, and all of a sudden this COVID-19 thing comes up, and everything's been on goddamn hold, and we've been on this thing. We haven't really done much with the building thing. I mean, yeah, we got the thing. Frank got mad because we didn't give him the raise thing anyways. He quit as the dog catcher plus the building committee. That left the three of us. So, I mean, it's probably been one of the last things on my mind till just the last week or two when they've been start talking about it again. But it's, you know, I just think, I mean, all it is a shell out there. There's no water in it. We're not doing no bathrooms out there. We already got the bathrooms. I mean, it's a shell with some electricity and a little bit of heat out there. I mean, why we gotta go, I mean, it's, I think 15,000 is quite a lot just to draw something up to get a stamp. Maybe I don't know why they couldn't stamp a set of plans that we had, maybe get the plan, draw it up and stamp it, I don't know, but I mean, it's quite not a real big addition. I mean, and it's getting, I mean, like I said before, is once you get that all going like that, you're looking at it, we don't have enough money in the budget to do it, you know?
Yeah. And
Mike, first of all, I totally agree that, I'm talking, Shelley, I'll call on you when I'm finished, okay? I totally agree about the COVID-19 and nobody's really been thinking about much else. But I was not on the board last year, so I'm interested in knowing when you formed a building committee, did you at any point meet with David Cotton? I wasn't around, so I don't know.
No, we have not met with them.
What?
Not that I know of, not yet. I mean, it's been a phone conversation, probably just recently.
Melissa?
David Cotton actually came into the office, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago. And he was drawing up some plans and just making recommendations and getting some estimates on cost. And I think Pete Van Loon was here at the time.
Mhm.
He was drawing plans like on changes on the inside of the whole building and everything, right?
He did both. He did plans for the inside of the building, or not really plans. He just kind of, I think, drew some things out and suggestions. And then he came back and he met with Juanetta and I about some options to build outside of the building and do an addition on.
Okay.
The only plan I've seen on the outside is what Frank drew us up.
Yeah, that's the only thing I've seen too.
Shelley, what did you want to say?
I'm just saying that we don't really know what's going to happen regarding people's, people have been hit financially.
Yeah,
And right now, building anything to the building, adding anything to the building, I think is just beyond reason. I don't think the town people would be real interested in having us build office space.
mhm. Angela,
I
thank
already
you.
made a recommendation to bring the plan to the meeting next time and go over it a little bit so everybody sees at least what we had for footprint drawn up.
I second that.
Okay.
Juanetta,
Yeah.
when is the deadline for the permits and such? Is there one?
No.
Okay.
Because they're also talking that we may have to get, what he said too, from what you got with your conversation, this may end up having to go to Act 250, right? Is that what he said, Juanetta?
I'm sorry?
When you had talked to David this last time, besides him, they may be looking at an Act 250 permit for doing this.
Yes.
And when we start talking an Act 250, we're talking a whole new ballgame now.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we're not, like I said, that $100-some thousand is not even a drop in the bucket for it. Because they're gonna look at stormwater ponds, because you got so much roof runoff, you got so much blacktop out there in the parking lot. I mean, there's gonna be a whole big change to everything. You go Act 250, we're just looking to do a simple addition on the back end of a building.
Okay, so what I'm hearing now are two requests. One is that the plans that Juanetta was referring to and that's on the wall should be made available to all the select board members by next meeting,
Yes.
copies made. And then I think we should also consider what Shelley has been saying about the whole idea of extra financial expense during this time of COVID-19. So first thing we should do, and if we can vote on, is having the plans made available to all select board members by June 15th, and also to consider as another possibility of not doing this at this time. And those are things I think that we should think about and consider. So is anybody who would like to make a motion to all of that?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
And then we revisit it on June 15th.
Thank you. Is there a second to that?
Second it.
Okay. So all those in favor of, first of all, getting copies of the plans to each select board member, and then while we're thinking and looking at that, to consider what Shelley said in terms of, would this be the right time with everything else that's going on? So all those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, so the ayes have it. So we will get the plans and we will at the same time consider if this is an appropriate time to do anything.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next on the agenda is correspondence. Oh no, I'm sorry, new business is select board use of town attorney. So in the past month and a half, there have been phone calls and emails sent to Bob Fisher, who is our town attorney. And I think you'll find in your package that there is itemized list of a bill that has come in recently for the use of Bob Fisher. Did everybody get that and see it? Okay. So first of all, I think that there really should be an understanding and a review about what a town attorney is supposed to be used for. And that is that we have hired and we pay an attorney for issues having to do with select board and town issues. And when we use him, he charges us. This is not a free service, the way you can call BLCT and get information if you need it, and that we have a contract with BLCT where they can help us. So right now we have a fee due for $1,236, and Melissa, you have said that we are over budget in that line
Yeah.
item.
Yeah,
Can you explain what the budget for that is?
I'm gonna have to look at the numbers, but I think last time I looked, you guys were about 1,500 to 2,000 over budget.
Okay.
That's not the first time it's happened, so I guess.
No, I'm just talking, we're talking.
And there
about-
were a lot of issues. There were a lot of issues around the school property that drove that over the budget.
Around the
Yeah,
school.
there was a lot of issues regarding the town and, or the school stuff that did jack it up there.
So I don't know what you're saying, Marion, but let me just reiterate about some of the expenses that would not have been incurred had certain people had controlled themselves during certain instances.
Well, Shelley, I disagree with you on that. And we each have a right to explain our thoughts and opinions. So I appreciate your saying what you
I
did.
don't know why you're bringing it up. That's the question.
Why am I
This
bringing? You
specific
just
bill.
brought it up.
Why
You just brought it
specific
up.
bill?
You just brought it up.
No, you brought it up. You've given everybody this bill to look over.
Well, there was a certain email, I don't know if I should mention this email, but it was brought up by a board member that the yearly stipends from each select board member should go back into cover the legal fees that incurred during personal matters.
Right. There was an email sent out about
And then when you look at this particular bill, it mentions specifically 2 board members having contacted the town attorney regarding personal matters. I believe that's what I'm reading. That's just all I've noticed about this particular issue. So
I don't have a copy of the bill, I guess. I don't know, you know what you're
Shelley,
talking.
do you remember what you wrote to everybody? Shelley?
I'm just that's the basis of why this is on the agenda from my understanding of everything I've read.
Shelley, you wrote an email recently saying that you feel that every member of the select board should use the stipends that the select board gets to pay towards Bob Fisher's bill. Do you remember sending that out recently?
Of course, Marion, I did.
Okay, so why did you send that? What was your thinking on that?
Well, because I know what you're thinking of. So I think the fair thing is that
You're the one who wrote it. What do you think? What made you think about that?
the reason why I wrote it was because of the fact that you brought it up as a concern, as a cost. So to remedy it, it was a board issue, okay? It wasn't a personnel issue. I think we all should take the burden of the cost if that's an issue that you feel, because it's not coming from anybody else. And that was my recommendation.
Okay, you know what, Shelley? I think you are a little erroneous in what your statement is a little erroneous. Melissa was mentioning the budget when she talked about the budget last meeting, and when she got to that line item, she mentioned that we are above
I don't think it's to blame Melissa for bringing it up or
I'm
anything.
not blaming.
Again, if I remind you and everybody else is that we had a lot of expenses towards the Newbrook School property that drove the budget over.
Okay.
We're still not done with that, are we?
No.
So I mean, no matter what, we still have more to do with that. We're gonna spend more with Bob Fisher.
Those are the costs that,
I think that's the thing is, the bill, and if we have more come up, we'll have to deal with it. I mean, but, I mean, I think every year, not every year, but a lot of years, we go way over the attorney budget. I mean, we try not to put in a great big fee, we try to keep it down as best we can when we do these budgets, and if we make it, we make it. Sometimes we go over it, you know?
Right.
That's one of the things you cannot determine, but I said this whole thing for the school is long from being over by the sounds. I mean, it's either we drop it or we just keep going after it for that stuff, you know? But I would say if you got a bill from him, pay the bill.
I think Marion wants to make a point of the fact that select board use of the town attorney. So the VLTC has the recommendation that once it reaches a certain issue, it has to be handled by our town attorney.
Yeah.
They will not do it.
I mean, if the town needs a little extra money, if I still got my $200, use mine to help pay him. Doesn't
Yeah,
bother me.
whatever. I've never collected it.
I never have either, but I'm just saying.
Those who are involved with it, you know, as a group, we can do it, or those who were involved with it, they should handle it if it's taken the burden off the town. But it was an issue that was out of control, and it was a lot of our issues.
Well, I guess what I'm referring to is a school thing, but it doesn't matter if it's
Yeah.
over budget, it's over budget. I mean, we have to deal with it. You have to pay the man. I mean, it's still gonna be the town
Oh,
attorney.
yeah.
We're not at the end of the year yet either. And if that school thing isn't over, it's either you drop it or you continue on carrying on. We've gone this far with it. I think we should continue on carrying on with it. But I think we have shot, you're gonna have to pay him so we can, we need him again and he comes around.
Yeah,
It's
I
already-
see where this,
Melissa, do we have money that we can pay this bill?
Yeah, it's already actually in the pay orders.
We have it.
Yeah,
Okay. So the town can pay the bill and we don't have to have people on the select board give their money, particularly the people who were not involved with it at all. And I actually said from the beginning that I would absolutely pay for my share of this bill. I said that to Annetta and to you, that if there's an issue with a bill from Bob Fisher, I would certainly pay my part out of my own money. Do you
no,
remember?
it's fine. I've already got it slated for you guys to sign off for tonight and mail the check out to Bob tomorrow.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion about the money, funds?
well, I guess, who brought it up? I guess Marion put it on the agenda, so.
It was originally
what
brought
was
up via an email when we got the budget report. So that's where it started. Just to go back, I believe May 9th.
Mhm.
And who brought it up?
You did.
You did via email asking for a itemized list of what he was being contacted for.
Bob Fisher?
Yes, the town attorney.
I don't recall that. I mean, we've been using them, so I've never, I don't know
In
why
an
I would do
email
that.
dated May 19th, what are the legal costs to date on the legal costs regarding the select board concerns by subject? Please send me the actual costs incurred to date. Thank you. And that was written by you on May 19th.
Okay, so probably there was a reason somebody was asking about the cost. So. I
Well, it
was-
started with Melissa's email saying that on that same date, just saying that she had attached a budget report for us all to look at and to please notice the legal expenses. just to give us a heads up as to what was going on as part of the budget. So.
And then you, Shelley, wrote a response that you gave the idea that each person on the select board should donate their stipend, so to speak, of what we get on select board.
So are we deciding that or what? I mean,
What?
we're having a discussion about it now. So
No,
I
you
guess,
just asked how did this come about, so that's how it came about.
Yeah.
And I had said to Bonetta and to Melissa that whatever part of Bob Fisher's bill had to do with me, I would be totally willing to pay that part out of my own money, not out of select board funds. And I made that very clear to both of them about several weeks ago. And that still holds. I would certainly be.
I guess if you wanted to do that, you could do that.
Yes, I can. You're right. Okay.
We were all involved with it, so.
Any other conversation about this?
Well, is there something that you want to make apparent for the future regarding select board use of the attorney?
Well, I think that everybody should understand that when you call Bob Fisher about something that concerns you personally, and I don't mean just you, but anybody, you have to understand that there's a fee involved. And
but it wasn't, in this situation, it wasn't a personal issue, it was a select board issue.
Well, I've been on select board other than last year for several years, and I was told by Shannon, not just I was told, we were all told by Shannon that if anybody wanted to call the town attorney about something, we had to understand that there was a fee to be paid. And so if any kind of issue came up with select board where somebody thought they should call the town attorney, it had to be discussed and voted on. And I can remember a specific incident where we were dealing with a contract with Green Lantern Solar for having a solar field put up. And this was going on for quite a while, with meeting with the owners and talking to our select board attorney about this. And then we were going to have the meeting. We were scheduled to have the meeting to put a final vote in. And one of the select board members on their own decided they were going to call the attorney. Nobody knew about it. This person brought it up at select board that that person had personally called that town attorney that morning just to double check on things. And we were told that that was inappropriate because in order to call an attorney, town attorney, where it was going to cost money, it would have had to be talked about with the whole board, that you don't just pick up the phone and call a town attorney who charges a fee for it.
Well, I think in this instance, there was the select board members were in discussion and it was a personnel issue. So a personal issue. So in this case, it was not something that you are using as an example regarding a decision that we would have as a board. So I think there was a recommendation given to the select board member to make the call to the town attorney, or I don't think it was arbitrarily done. So, you know, this is a different situation.
Any other discussion?
Pay the bill, and we should all be mindful about how we use the town attorney in the future, because it does incur quite a big expense.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Okay, so we're moving on now to next item, which is correspondence. And Winetta, do we have any correspondence for this week?
There is none.
Okay,
Nothing's come in the mail?
nothing's coming in the mail.
It needs to go before the board for a decision.
Okay, so we're up to pay orders. And can you just repeat who is in charge of, who offered to do pay orders tonight?
I was going to come over, but I have asked, since Mike and Christopher are already over at the town offices, if they would mind doing them, and they have agreed for me. So,
And I have to go over and sign that
legal notice
yeah,
for
the
real estate.
notice to put out to bid for the auction. Okay, so motion to adjourn. Anybody making a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion.
Okay, thank you. So I wish everybody
And
have.
What's that?
you need a motion to suspend.
Motion to suspend.
Motion to suspend. Oh, before we do pay orders. Okay. Thank you. So I wish everybody a happy and healthy week. A healthy week, please. And take good care of yourselves, your families, and your friends. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary, and you too.
All right.
Good night.
Bye, guys.
Right.